Community has always been an underappreciated gem of a sitcom that more people absolutely need to see. Or at least that's what I've heard from every film student, 40-year-old comic book nerd, and alcoholic 18 to 23-year-old over the past 11 years. You may not know Community, but you definitely know its creator, Dan Harmon. Dan Harmon would later go on to make Rick and Morty, and luckily you don't need to be a supremely intelligent galaxy brain in order to enjoy Community. Community has always been one of those shows on my radar that I just never got around to watching for years. Parks and Rec was like my favorite sitcom ever. It was like a warm bowl of soup. I could just enjoy it at any time and just casually laugh my ass off. And now, after a mid-quarantine post-breakup depression binge, I can safely say that Community is the single best sitcom I've ever seen. But why do I like it so much? Let me tell you. My absolute favorite part of this show is its characters. We have such a diverse blend of charming characters who are all played excellently by these actors. You can really tell that all the actors were so passionate about the roles that they were given, and they put so much into it. The difference in personalities always makes for unique and fun dynamics between everyone. I never thought I would see a cast of characters in a sitcom that I liked more than Parks and Rec, but here we are. Firstly, we have my favorite character of the show, and my new favorite sitcom character ever, Jeffrey fucking Winger. Jeff Winger is like the man. As our main character, he had a fake law degree and becomes a slimy lawyer. After being caught for it, he's forced to go to a shitty community college and get a real degree. Jeff is incredibly smart and charismatic, but his main flaw is that he is lazy as hell. He will do anything to cut corners, including manipulating his friends. He's the most proactive character in the show, and he's really the glue that holds the whole thing together for me. He's always got a funny one-liner or comeback. He's a sarcastic asshole, but he also cares about his friends. Also, he goes through more than one character arc. Think about that. A sitcom character goes through more than one character arc. The rest of the ensemble are also great. Britta's this rebellious, gullible anarchist. Annie's a charming nerd who always tries to do the right thing. Pierce is your slightly racist grandpa if he were a pervert with no self-awareness. Shirley's a caring Christian mother with a short temper. And finally, I saved the fan favorites for last, Troy and Abed.
Troy and Abed in the morning.
Troy and Abed are true best friends, and their dynamic is fucking adorable because they're just polar opposites of each other. Abed's a socially awkward nerd who can't make sense of the world around him without comparing it to television or movies. Troy is a high school jock with a powerful exterior but filled with insecurities. Honestly, seeing a friendship that is this aggressively healthy and positive is just something that makes me so happy. The fact that these characters are so different and so well defined is what makes their interplay entertaining. You'll never find any one of them making the same comment about the situation that they're in as another one. And I normally don't praise the acting from sitcoms, but these actors are really giving tremendous performances. They don't just read lines from a paper and go home. They really throw their entire bodies into these performances. It really makes these characters feel real, you know? There's an underlying sense of love between everyone that really makes your heart melt. All of this is the reason why my favorite scenes in Community are when the group is arguing. You can really tell where everyone's coming from, and it just feels so natural, and it's always fucking hilarious. If all this show had going for it was its characters, then I don't think it would be nearly as memorable as it is. The other huge draw of the show is its defined personality. They'll parody other genres, tropes, and films all the time, and they'll use these parodies as a way to develop the characters. The most memorable episodes for most people are usually when they go balls to the wall crazy with another genre. We have huge paintball episodes that parody westerns, multiple timelines, law dramas, stop motion episodes, Freaky Friday, and so on and so on. The list of intelligent parodies in this show is endless. The self-awareness of the show never feels like it's talking down to you or using self-awareness as a lazy gag. It always feels like it's a party that you're invited to. Another underappreciated aspect of this show is the visuals. This show will have massive sets and a large amount of extras that will make this shitty community college feel like a real shitty community college. Also, the camera work is legitimately great. No, it's not The Revenant, but I've never seen a sitcom use fluid camera movements this much to add to visual gags. This show has long takes and tracking shots all the time that reveal tons of little jokes in the background of every scene. Now, is the show perfect? No. All fans of this show know that it isn't. So now I'm going to show you the shit I don't like. What I don't like about this show is kinda spoilery, so if you don't want to hear spoilers, click off of this video in 3, 2, 1. Joel McHale and Allison Brie are too hot. This shit's distracting. The single biggest issue I have with this show is the sheer amount of awkward cast changes. I know. The show didn't have great ratings while it was on, so they had a lot of constraints. But just because I understand why cast changes happen, doesn't mean that it isn't disappointing or distracting. I didn't want to see Troy or Pierce leave. Sure, I think that they handled Pierce leaving very, very well, but Troy's absence is something that they never really filled in for me. To give the show credit, I think that Season 5 handled the cast changes about as well as they possibly could. For the most part, I liked all the side characters that they brought into the main cast, but I cannot say the same thing about Season 6. The amount of characters that I liked that were introduced in Season 5 just to never be brought up again in Season 6 is really, really awkward. Did Abed and his girlfriend break up with no explanation? Or was Brie Larson too busy winning an Oscar to return to the show? Francesca is boring. Also, I can take one old man replacement of Pierce, but I cannot take two. Even though, I have to admit, Elroy did have one of the single best jokes in the entire show.
And from 2006 to 2009, I was addicted to encouraging white people. All right. Now there's a man who knows his meatball. You know what you're doing. Let me see. This man knows exactly what he's doing.
But hands down, the worst case of a missing cast member comes in Season 4, when Dan Harmon, the creator of the show, was fired. Yeah, they fired the creator of the show for one season, and it's universally agreed upon to be the worst season of Community. The writing in this season is just not like the rest of them. Thank God they brought Dan Harmon back for the rest of the show after Season 4, otherwise this video would be very, very different. This season is so weird that I can literally make a whole video just talking about it.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
Chang's character is as inconsistent as Analogy. I love him as playing the playful antagonist in the first 3 seasons, but once he just becomes a member of the gang, I find him to be way less interesting. The love triangle between Jeff, Britta, and Annie goes on for way too long. It lasts a whole 6 seasons. Do you really expect me to believe that these 3 adults can't settle this in 6 years? I like the way it ends, but it should have ended in Season 2. You know what? Now that I think about it, Troy's also in it, so it's more like a love square. Come on, this feels like something Community would make fun of other shows for doing. Some of my favorite scenes of the show are just the characters doing mundane schoolwork. It's a fun contrast between the craziness that the show could devolve into. My only problem is that there wasn't enough of it. I was dying for more scenes of Jeff teaching, Abed making movies, or Britta doing psychology stuff. Finally, it really feels like Season 6 had a lower budget than the previous seasons, and it leads to a lot of the visual personality to be lost. The fluid camera work I praised earlier becomes less and less frequent as the show goes on, and it kind of feels like it's completely absent by Season 6. But these minor things that the show gets wrong are just dwarfed in comparison to all of the many, many things that this show gets right. I feel like Community's humor was just so ahead of its time that now anyone can put on the pilot episode and just fall in love with their favorite character, or the subversive genre episodes, or the relatable college setting, or the emotional moments that add to the heart that this show so palpably has. I really, really love the show. I have no idea what I was doing for the last 11 years where I didn't watch it, but I'm glad that I watched it now. And I really hope that you love the show just as much as I do. Goodbye.
¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Me llamo T-Bone, la araña discoteca.
Discoteca, muñeca, la biblioteca. Es un bigote grande, pero manteca.
Manteca, bigote, gigante, pequeño, cabeza es